Good evening. Welcome to Chiller Night Theater. I am your host, Jack Shadow. Throughout the ages, I have gone by other names. Lord of the Dark Domain, Samhain, Father Halloween. How fitting. Now this Halloween, I thought I'd dig up a nice horror gem as I present to you the 1963 Italian horror film titled Lo Spettro, or the English title, The Ghost. Tonight's chiller features Barbara Steele, who of course is well known for starring in Italian horror gothic films of the 1960s. Now, I'll be talking more about everyone's favorite queen of the horror films in a bit, but for now, let's get this Halloween chiller started. Now, before we do, I must make a little announcement here. Tonight is my retirement episode. That's right, it's my retirement episode. So, all right, got that out of the way. All right, now are you ready for... Of course, I'll be talking more about it as the show progresses, but now that I got that out of the way, are you ready? Are you? Then you know the drill. Turn the lights down low. Come on, a little lower. That's it. Now pull those blankets up around you tight. Grab onto that one beside you. And prepare for fright as I present the 1963 horror classic, The Ghost.
That Sanskrit, the black sign of death, is on this house. Is on this house. That's enough for tonight. How do you feel? Tired. Margaret, please give me a hand. Your husband must rest now. A little under the weather, aren't you? Take my advice and stop these seances. You get excited, your strength goes, and that isn't something you can afford to squander so lightly.
I didn't ask you to preach, Charles. They're my only interest in life now. By means of these seances, I can cross the border. The border of the spirit world to which I belong.
You'll never get better if you go on like that.
Better? I'll never get better. All I can hope for is a quick death. No!
John! John, are you mad?
It's useless. The poison does its work too quickly for it
John,
to be effective now.
you must drink this antidote. Drink it! Drink it!
Why?
You really had me worried that time. Don't you realize you must get well? You must. It isn't only your life, it's your theory, your cure. That wonderful inspiration that'll save the lives of millions of poor cripples.
Yes. I mustn't forget the efforts that you've made. It's a heavy responsibility for a doctor to give lethal poison to a wealthy patient.
These two poisons will stimulate your limbs back to life, I know it.
Thank you. Give me faith. And if you change your mind, Charles, it would be simple to put me away. A drop more poison, too little antidote, and error's natural. You've a declaration signed by me, which limits you to carrying out my preparation.
All right, John, that's enough. You must try to get some rest. I'm off to the hospital. See you tonight.
Come here, Catherine. Get me a glass of gin. Over there. It's in the bookshelf. More! More!
Sir, you really shouldn't. The doctor will be angry.
Damn the doctor! are late. You were an unusually long time in the garden.
I'm sorry, darling. But don't be cross. It was such a lovely day.
Don't say that. It makes me feel even more of a cripple.
John. Oh. Why do you talk like that?
Because it's true. I was watching you down there with Charles. You were so remote, so far away from me, tied to this wheelchair. And you seemed so happy.
I was happy because Charles was telling me you were getting better. Slowly, but surely.
My friend Charles. The suave Dr. Livingstone. He is the exemplary, faithful friend.
If you're jealous of him, why don't you send him away? He isn't the only doctor in Scotland.
I know. But he's the only one who has dared to practice my cure on me.
Then what are we arguing about? Doesn't my being near you, my loving you, help? Or mean anything to you at all?
I'm sorry. My apologies.
You may go, Catherine. I'll do it. You know I want to be the one who takes care of my husband. There you are. Is that all?
That's all. You ought to have let me do it. I'm just a living corpse.
No, John, no. Don't talk like that.
One day you might regret that you stopped me from killing myself.
Who gave you the revolver? Was it Catherine?
No. It's been hidden in here for years, among the books.
May I help, ma'am?
Thank you. I'll manage alone. Stop it. I can't go on living this part anymore. I can't go on being the devoted nurse and the loving wife. You've got to put an end to it, Charles. I can't even bear to touch him. I hate him. Help me. Help me. I beg you to put an end to it, Charles.
It's impossible. You know that as well as I do.
I thought you loved me. I thought you would do anything in the world for me.
Anything, yes. Not that.
But don't you see he's getting better?
No, he's not. A cure is a stimulant. It gives him occasional shots of vitality, but it doesn't alter the nature of his disease. Believe me, darling, we won't have to wait much longer.
You're lying. You said yourself a cripple can go on living for years and years. You are lying, aren't you? I can't stand it, I tell you. I can't stand it, Charles. I can't. You can just abandon it all and leave it. You can leave him, you can leave me, you can do anything you like.
I'll never leave you.
Then free me. Charles, if you don't do it, I'm going to. Do you hear?
No. No, Margaret.
Charles. I will, I swear it.
We heard it at a restaurant in Copenhagen. It was the first time I met you, remember? So long ago. Nearly 13 years. The waiter insisted on presenting us with a bottle of Dutch gin. I was a real man then. A doctor, building a reputation, yes. And you, a beautiful, penniless young thing, without a care in the world. How happy we were then. As happy as two children on holiday.
Don't move, darling, or I'll cut you.
Pour me some gin.
You know you shouldn't.
It brings back memories. You have some too. Good evening, Canon Owens. You look the picture of health.
Good evening, Mrs. Hitchcock. You too, my friend, are looking very well, I'm happy to say.
Yes, I owe it all to my dear devoted wife and our good Dr. Livingstone, to the Dutch gin and to the memories evoked by a Viennese waltz.
Then, since you are in such good spirits, Dr. Hitchcock, perhaps you will have patience enough to listen to me. Oh, no, thank you. I never drink. What I have to say is not altogether pleasant.
Out with it, Canon Owens. Have you come to tell me that the people are still gossiping about the devilish rites being conducted in the house of evil, crippled Dr. Hitchcock?
Please, Dr. Hitchcock, you shouldn't treat this matter so lightly. What I mean to say is, the townspeople are saying that your experiments are very close to black magic. But you must remember that not very long ago they were witch hunters. And they are also saying, Dr. Hitchcock, that the devil has set his mouth.
So you also believe that I'm actually in league with the devil, is that right, Canon Owens?
The devil is more real a person than our modern world would have it, Dr. Hitchcock. Come, can't you forget these experiments? I appeal to you as a man of science. Surely you should be the first one to despise superstition.
It is no superstition, Canon, I assure you. It is all basically scientific.
Well, then, I warn you, Dr. Hitchcock, you are playing with forces which are best left alone. I entreat you, confine yourself to your scientific studies like these here.
Don't touch that. That phial holds curare, one of the deadliest poisons. If even the slightest scratch on your hand were to be touched by it, you might have ended your days in a wheelchair like me. Usually, curare kills, but in small doses, it paralyzes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Never forget that.
The setting is Scotland, 1910. The movie begins with the seance, which quickly sets a haunting atmosphere. Although I find it unusual that the spirit would choose to speak in Sanskrit. A good thing there happened to be someone at the table who understood Sanskrit. I mean, 1 out of 10 bilinguists speak the language of Sanskrit, right? Yeah, I'm sure they're all over the place. Well, lucky them. Now, if you're a spirit, actually wanting to communicate with folks around the table, why not speak their language? Why even bother to respond to the English-speaking necromancers if you're going to show up speaking Sanskrit? Again, just wondering what's the point. Okay, and you know how Dr. Hitchcock's wife wants him to die so bad? You know how much she despises him? You know how she begs her lover, Charles Livingston, to kill her husband? And you know how she let him shoot himself when he put a gun to his head? Oh wait, that part didn't happen, you say?
John! No! No!
Yeah, my point exactly. If she wants him dead so bad, why did she prevent him from killing himself? Wouldn't that pretty much have solved the problem? Look, I'm no logics professor, but I am seeing a few things here in the opening scenes of this movie that leave me asking some questions. Okay, well, maybe things will smooth out a bit in the next segment. We'll see. Okay, now let's return to The Ghost, starring Barbara Steele and Peter Baldwin. And away we go.
Just a minute, Charles. The Queen moves to H7. Checkmate. Exactly. If it weren't for the doctor with the injection and the hypodermic, I'd ask for my revenge.
I'm afraid, Dr. Hitchcock, it's getting late, and I think we ought to go now, or else we'll have all the people in the town saying that the chief constable is neglecting his duties, and that criminal activity is increasing in the county, and we wouldn't want that now, would we?
Don't forget that. No fear of that. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow? Who knows if I'll see tomorrow? When I was in Africa, a witch doctor said to me, "The day will surely come when the bright sun will no longer shine over the forest."
Your medicine seems to put you in a bad mood. Why don't you give it up? Don't believe in medicine myself. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's an awful lot of nonsense.
Not to me. I think that scientists should believe in their power to heal even cripples.
Perhaps you're right. Good night.
Good night, Dr. Hitchcock. Be quick, give me the antidote. What's the matter, Charles? Give me the antidote, please. Please, Charles. Please. I'm suffocating.
It's been an hour since I gave the injection. It should be over now.
If you are waiting for Dr. Hitchcock, he's not coming. Oh, it's my fault. I'm sorry. He told me to say he was dining in his room tonight.
He's been dead for more than an hour.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
Oh, Charles, please, not now.
It's all right now. We've nothing more to fear. It's all over.
I can't stand it. I wish he'd go
Margaret,
away.
what are you thinking of? You mustn't lose control. We knew it would be difficult, but remember, we have each other.
Oh, stop him, please. Make him stop. Make him stop. What's that?
Margaret!
Madam apologizes. She'll be down
How
at
is
once.
she?
She's not too well, sir. It's strange. I wouldn't have thought her so sensitive. The master's death has upset her, and if I may take the liberty, sir, I don't think you should leave the house now. Madam needs your care. Please, Dr. Livingstone, stay with her. She's taking it hard.
Yes, I'll stay.
Good morning, Canon Owens. Good morning, Dr. Fisher.
The last time I saw our poor friend, that is to say the night before his demise, he seemed strangely excited. Before our usual chess game, he insisted on dictating his last testament. Dowbridge, November 4th, 1910. I, John Hitchcock, sound of mind, am dictating this, my last will and testament, to my solicitor, Mr. Albert Fisher, of Fisher, Markley and McNabb, of 10 High Street, Dowbridge. Item 1, I bequeath my house with all it contains and the land on which it stands to my wife, Margaret Hitchcock, née Whiteman, as a token of gratitude for her affectionate assistance, on condition that she keep in her employment my governess, Catherine Wood, to the end of her days. Item 2, 2/3 of the contents of my safe in bonds, shares, currency, and jewels, which is to say all that I have been able to save during my existence, should be given to the Home for Orphan Children, directed by Canon Owens in the recognition of the several instances in which his words as a friend and clergyman have brought balm to my troubled soul. The remaining 1/3 of my belongings shall become the property of my wife, who shall use them in any way she thinks fit. Item 3. All the books and documents pertaining to the studies I have conducted during my lifetime will be denoted to the Institute of Psychic Research in London. That's all. Now, Mrs. Hitchcock, if you would kindly proceed to open the safe in my presence.
The key is in the drawer of that desk, Mr. Fisher. You'll find it yourself by opening it.
There is no key here, Mrs. Hitchcock.
Strange. Catherine, do you know where the key might be?
No, ma'am. But I remember the master always kept it in that drawer.
There's no hurry, Mrs. Hitchcock. You can take your time. And if you think it necessary, Canon Owens and I can have the safe sealed.
Oh, good heavens. I wouldn't dream of it.
In that case, Mrs. Hitchcock, will you kindly inform me as soon as you find the key? Should it really be lost, we shall have to apply to the magistrates for authority to have the safe forced.
Well?
Nothing.
And yet it must be. It's bound to be somewhere. Jen.
No!
What is it, Catherine?
There's something I've got to tell you, ma'am. The master sometimes kept the key to the safe on his person. I saw him myself put the key in his vest pocket a few days before he died.
But in that case, it must still be in his coat.
Oh, yes, ma'am. But it's the coat he was buried in.
Well, you see, John has the last laugh.
There's 150,000 pounds in shares and jewels in that awful safe of John's. Oh, 60% of which is to go into the greedy hands of dear Christian-minded, charitable Canon Owens. It's so funny when you think what we've risked together for the benefit of those poor orphans. And dear Canon Owens. Oh, it's so terrible. Don't you think it's funny?
Stop it, Margaret. Margaret! Margaret!
Oh, the key's buried with him, buried with him, buried.
We can't force the safe. They'd find out.
Of course not. All we need's the key. Charles, I want that key.
the effect of the injections. They hasten decay. Here's the key. Come along. Margaret, we've got it. That's all that matters. Let's open it. Come on.
Belle!
Darling, you must stop her. Don't let her come in. Go on.
Ma'am, excuse me. I was wondering... Oh, did you hurt yourself, ma'am? How terrible. What happened?
No, it's nothing. What do you want?
Is Dr. Livingstone upstairs?
Yes? Why?
They're asking for him at the hospital. It's very urgent.
All right, I'll tell him.
Oh. Can I help you, ma'am?
It's all right, Catherine.
Let me help you.
No. Charles, they want you at the hospital. What's happened?
There's nothing there. I tell you, there's nothing there. No money, no... just papers and documents. Margaret, stop it. Margaret. Margaret. Don't shout. Stop it. Stop it. Shut up. Stop it. Stop it. Calm yourself. Stop it. Come on. Get up. It'll be all right. We'll find it sooner or later. Sit down. I'll throw the key into the lake. I must go.
Well, Margaret and Charles' plan isn't working out so well, is it? Greed, infidelity, deception, murder, devilish practices with the conjuring of spirits. And this is all from our main three characters. I mean, we don't really have any heroes in our little group, do we? Now, normally in these old chiller movies, we have our white hats and our black hats. But we're seeing a chain of events that can only lead to an outcome of some much-deserved comeuppance, I'd say. Tales of murder and haunting revenge has been the topic of many a ghost story throughout the ages. You know, this somewhat reminds me of stories from Tales from the Crypt, Creepshow, and the old horror pulp magazines of old. You know right from the get-go who'll be getting what's coming to them. And I'm not talking about money and riches. Margaret may have been unhappy, but to take it to the level of murder, well, that's a sure path to some painful karma in a horror movie. Now, Margaret is played, of course, by Barbara Steele. Barbara is an English actress who is well known for starring in Italian Gothic horror movies such as Black Sunday, The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock, Castle Blood, Terror Creatures from the Grave, and Nightmare Castle, just to name a few. And I do mean just a few. She's been in tons of stuff. Now, one of her most recent acting parts was of a character named Miranda in 2020 on the animated TV series Castlevania. She's had a great and very long career, which in that profession is pretty rare. So good for Barbara, and good for us as we're fortunate enough to see her performance in tonight's movie. Now, ready for some more chills and thrills? Then join me as we return to The Ghost.
Charles, is that you?
I saw him. He was there. He was there. Behind the drapes. It was John. John. He was alive. I tried 4 or 5 times, but he kept on coming. It was horrible. Oh. Listen. It's blood. Blood.
I'm going to see what it is. There must be an explanation.
No, Charles. No, please.
I must go. I won't be long.
I'm frightened, Charles. I'm frightened. Must you sneak up on me like that?
Excuse me, ma'am. Canon Owens to see you. He is waiting for you downstairs.
What's he want?
I don't know. He didn't tell me.
Good morning, Mrs. Hitchcock.
Good morning. Please sit down.
Oh, excuse me. We missed you in church today, Mrs. Hitchcock. Surely you haven't forgotten.
What?
The memorial service for your husband. You know, we live in a small community, and...
Will you come to the point, Canon Owens?
Well, Mrs. Hitchcock, Dr. Livingston's presence in this house was necessary during your husband's life, in view of the state of his health. But now you will understand. A young, widowed lady, alone, in her deceased husband's house, a man, even though he is a trusted friend of the family.
You mean the town would have it that Dr. Livingstone is my lover?
Oh, dear me, Mrs. Hitchcock. The thought never entered my mind. But I thought it my duty to warn you that gossip...
Let them gossip, Canon Owens. I have other things on my mind.
I only meant well, Mrs. Hitchcock.
No doubt you did. Good day.
Good day.
Have you gone crazy?
What?
First you forget to attend a service in your husband's memory. Then the canon comes and you put his back up. You practically insult him.
Charles, you seem to forget that it was he who insulted me by suggesting you were my lover.
The fact is, it's the truth, my dear. And we don't want people to find out the truth, do we?
I'm sorry, Charles, but what could I do?
You should have thought about it first. We're playing a dangerous game, Margaret. You know as well as I do what one more stupid move like that'll bring us.
Darling, please don't turn against me now.
I'm not turning against you. If I would do that, I'd have done it a long time ago, long before you dragged me down to this.
I dragged you. It was you who killed him.
Don't you ever say that again. Never!
Charles, you're hurting me. Stop it.
You wanted him dead. You pushed me into this. Margaret, forget it. My nerves must be going too. It's John coming back like this to these walls. He's much more between us now than he ever was alive. He's always here. I always feel him just over my shoulder. Sometimes I turn to try to catch him face to face. And he's not there. No one is. Oh, well. We're in this together. That's all that matters.
I'm going to go upstairs and try to get some sleep.
Remember, we must be very careful now. We're being watched. You'd better go up and visit your husband's grave this afternoon. Take him some flowers. And be sure that someone sees you do it.
Just as you say, Charles.
I'm only saying it for our own good.
really should try and eat something, ma'am. It's not good for you to go on day after day without having any food.
I don't want it.
Shall I stay up and wait till Dr. Livingston comes, ma'am? Do you want me to wait for Dr. Livingston, ma'am?
Oh. Don't you hear it? Don't you hear it?
Yeah, what, ma'am?
You know perfectly well what. It's coming from upstairs.
I can't hear anything, ma'am.
You can. You're lying to me. Oh.
Ma'am, what's the matter? Ma'am, ma'am! This was the master's favorite snuff box. I found it in Dr. Livingston's room.
Yes, I remember now. The safe was already open when Catherine called. And I left him alone. No, it's impossible. But the snuff box must have been in the safe. Oh, how stupid I've been.
I know what you are looking for, Margaret. But it's not here. It's not here.
John.
Well, Margaret, it's not here. It's hidden. Under the coffin. The hiding place. Under the coffin. Under the stone slab. It's waiting for you. It's there. All you've ever wanted. Jewelry, money, Margaret. Wealth more than you've ever dreamed of. All that you've ever longed for, Margaret. All that you've ever longed for.
What a nice looking movie to be playing this Halloween season, eh? What wonderful imagery to help set the atmosphere. The old dark house, the skulls, candelabras, the crypt and the ghostly laugh echoing through the house, tormenting our characters. I think it's a gem of a chiller to be playing on this cold, dark October night. And tonight's movie was directed by Riccardo Frida, who's known for starting the Italian horror movies with a film called I Vampiri, also known in the US as The Devil's Commandment, released in 1957. The movie's cinematographer was Mario Bava, who we've played some of his films on our show over the years. And some of Bava's movies include Black Sabbath, Black Sunday, Kill Baby Kill, and Planet of the Vampires. Riccardo Frida had directed Barbara Steele the year prior to this one in a movie called The Horrible Dr. Hitchcock. And just like tonight's movie, Barbara's character is also married to Dr. Hitchcock. But neither character had anything to do with the characters in The Ghost. I find that an odd choice to make. I mean, were they just that short on character names in the early 60s that you had to use two different Dr. Hitchcocks in two different movies only a year apart from one another? I mean, hey, I don't mean to sound judgmental, folks, but somebody has to ask these things. Regardless, what a good one for tonight as we draw closer to Halloween. Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make. Hey! Hey! Oh, don't be doing that on the castle lawn. Bad boy! You're a bad boy, yes you are! Hey, don't make me come down there. Yeah, I didn't think so. Werewolves. I love having them around, but you really gotta watch where you step out there. They make messes. They use the scarecrows as chew toys, and they've been known to go out zombie tipping. Yeah, they sneak right up to a herd of zombies and they're just like dominoes if you can get the right one. Zominos, I should say. Alright, look, it's my last show, so I'll admit, I'm actually the one who's been doing that. But it's easier to blame it on the werewolves because they don't remember nothing when they change back. I get away with so much stuff that way around here. Okay, well, hey, I could go on and on and on and on with the tricks that I play during Halloween season. After all, I am Sam Hain. Trick or treat? Yeah, I started that. But hey, we have a movie to finish. So what do you say? I think it's time to get back to the chilling conclusion to The Ghost.
Why are you spying on me like that?
Somebody got to it before you did.
Who is doing these tricks? Who is it? Who is it?
That's not hard to understand. Who lives in this house besides you and me? It's very clear, isn't it?
No.
There's no one else, is there?
Charles.
Margaret, I'm leaving here.
Why?
Because I finally realized that everything we hoped for is being gradually destroyed. Even if we found that money and could get away from here, it would be too late. We would only go on destroying each other. I'm sorry, but...
No, what's done cannot be undone. You said so yourself not very long ago.
That's right. But I can get out before more evil is done. Before we completely destroy each other.
Why these silly qualms of conscience all of a sudden?
I feel like a man waking from a dream. And I realize now, for the very first time, what we've done.
Charles, please don't go away.
I'll do what I have to do, Margaret.
Charles, everything I've done has been to have you with me forever. That's all I've ever wanted out of life. Don't leave me alone, Charles.
We are both alone now, Margaret. Perhaps forever. Don't you understand that? Being together would be like living in a nightmare.
But I love you, Charles. I can't live without you.
It's too late for love and feeling. You once loved your husband, didn't you? Well, that's all over and done with now. But you'll forget me, just like you've forgotten the other.
But that's not true. I love you. No, Charles.
And I didn't believe her. I didn't believe my own eyes.
Margaret, I didn't know about this.
Yes.
You don't think that I...
What should I think? What should I think, Charles? It's all quite clear now, ever since the very first thing when I left you alone with the safe. Oh,
Are you
no,
crazy? I'm
Charles.
not a thief.
No, yes, you are a thief. You
What?
deceived me.
What are you talking
a
about?
liar,
I've got to know what you're
You
talking
are.
about. I swear I didn't take them. Margaret!
No, leave me alone.
Stop it!
Don't never lie. John!
Margaret, you're trembling. Perhaps you weren't expecting me. You should be accustomed to my materializing by now. But this time it's really me, Margaret. Alive and kicking. Just feel how strong my grip is. But I won't kill you. No. It would be too easy, my dear, for you to escape your punishment that way. When you were in the tomb, you cut yourself when you opened the jewel case, didn't you? Well, I smeared the hasp with poison. Curare. It paralyzes, you know. And now you'll be tied to that wheelchair like I was, and I'll be far away enjoying my wealth, which you and that poor idiot Charles were looking for so desperately. I had it all the time. Oh, I forgot to tell you. You were wrong about Charles. He didn't take the jewels. Catherine put them in his bag. He really loved you.
John.
I planned it all. It was Catherine who loaded the revolver with blank cartridges when you shot at my ghost. But when you so kindly fainted, she shot a few bullets into the wall and you went crazy with fear. You know, it all started when I realized I was really getting better. I wanted to bring you the good news. And I found you in the arms of Charles on the floor. You decided to get rid of me. But I replaced the curare with a liquid which produced apparent death, putting another corpse in my coffin, causing you to look feverishly for the estate, persecuting you incessantly night and day, appearing to you as a psychic materialization. Was all very simple, wasn't it, Catherine? Have you prepared everything for our departure, Catherine?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thank you for all you've done for me. You've been a great help.
Thank you.
Go now. I had to do it. There will be no witnesses. Margaret, one last favor, darling. Your fingerprints on the revolver butt, thank you. Now you'll be accused of her death, too. Poor Catherine. When she called the police for me, she didn't realize she was asking them to come here to investigate not Charles's death, but her own. Amusing, isn't it? Soon, my darling, you will be completely paralyzed. They've arrived. I shall have to leave you, my dear, before I expected. I apologize. I apologize profoundly. Ah, my faithful Dutch friend Jim. I see that you're cultivating all my habits. You've poured yourself a glass. Your good health. Or rather, your ill health. And to our memories of Copenhagen. Pity you didn't know there was a secret passage in this room. We would have met frequently. The pain. I'm suffocating. That bottle there, on the table. Give me that bottle. It's the antidote. We can still save ourselves. Help me. Margaret, please, give me the antidote, Margaret. Save ourselves. We'll save ourselves. Give it to me. Take her away.
I told you, Dr. Hitchcock, the devil is a very real person.
Okay, so nobody really won here tonight, folks. Our characters all pretty much got karma'd on big time. And we kind of got Scooby-Doo'd there at the end, as far as there being an actual ghost, but a very enjoyable film nonetheless. I hope you enjoyed the movie tonight. Now, tonight is my last night as host of Chiller Night Theater. I want to thank those who've shared in my hosting duties along the way over the years. Professor Graves, Elvon Knott, Malenka, and Walter, we can't forget Walter, and of course, Aura the Witch, who's been with me since the very, very beginning. So thank you all. I'm returning to my roots in haunted houses. I've been hosting since 2008, all the way back with it being Sleepy Hollow Theater. But I've been haunting since 2006. So I'm making a complete return to that world. I hope you've enjoyed watching as much as I've enjoyed hosting. But all good things must come to an end. Still, never say never. Have a frighteningly fun Halloween. But remember, when you go out at night for a trick-or-treat, that ghost or ghoul walking alongside you might not be a kid in a costume. Yes, Halloween. It is a night where the monsters roam about and walk with earthly feet among man. It's the only night of the year where you'll see apparitions, witches, werewolves, and zombies. And out of the many, some of them are actually real. So sleep tight, think fright, and let the vampires bite. And for the last time, I bid you adieu, my children of the night.
How many times do I have to tell you, just because something isn't good doesn't mean it's bad?